Um, you and Katz, our buddy Ryan Katz, started
Yep.
this story at the end of your VKM episode, which was so
Yeah.
good. If you have not seen that and you're just watching this one or listening to this one, go back, check it out. Sets up this episode perfect. So please check that out in the
Yep.
Oh You Didn't Know archives. With Sean and Hunter not showing up at the Alamo and Hunter blowing out his knee in the WWE, that was really the end of going after DX. So the transition goes something like this at Final Resolution. This is January 14th of '07. This is from your favorite publication, The Observer.
Well, look, they are my favorite.
There you go.
I'm just not theirs.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
I was
Here's
just
what
kidding. They're not my favorite either.
here's what they say. VKM was out. They declared victory in their war with DX. BG did tell Paul that he hopes he makes a speedy recovery because he does not like to see anyone go down. Last week they wanted to beat his ass, but they noted Michael Hickenbottom never showed up at the Alamo. The crowd was bored throughout this part. They did get the crowd into it when they talked about the crowd in St. Louis chanting TNA during the Trump Rosie deal. BG complained about John Cena being told by Vince McMahon to do a job for Kevin Federline. He said Vince McMahon insults the intelligence of fans every week. Out of all this, Christy Hemme showed up for what would have been the worst segment of 2007 if that Donald Rosie thing hadn't happened. This is great.
I
They're
know, they
buttering
love
you up
me.
right here. They're
They really
buttering you up.
are. They really are.
She started
Sweetheart.
she started talking about how these guys, Hunter and Sean, if she can say it, why can't anyone else, argue about who is the foundation of DX. But what about Joni Laurer? What about China? A collective groan hit the audience. Emmy's acting in this segment will go into the video dictionary next to the term ungodly bad. We
So we found somebody they don't like more than
Yeah,
me.
you went up actually on the
Yeah,
totem
my
pole
stock
somehow.
just rose.
They wrap up in The Observer by saying, "We want wrestling," screamed the audience. Finally, they figured out how to just be as bad as the worst segment on Raw. And what about Lita? She was run off. Are women in wrestling disposable? She wanted to have a chance to wrestle. BG was sympathetic to her and said that they all love the business. But then Kip turned male chauvinist and called her a slut and to go back to the strip club she got fired from.
He no
He,
way he did that on TV. He's
he
a
said
gentleman.
he said women were good for only two things. He didn't say what they were, and Hemi slapped him in the face. BG had to tackle Kip to keep him from going after her. This is a lot
That
to
is a lot. Hey,
digest.
that is a lot to unpack there.
What a transition this is. It
It's a
smells like Vince Russo.
yeah, yeah. It feels a little like Vince Russo because it was probably Vince Russo. But look, I would argue this 15 years ago, and so maybe the women's wrestling thing was starting to catch on, or maybe it was ahead of the game. I can't tell you what the thinking behind it was because I really was not uh not only not in the inner circle creatively, but I also did not care one bit at this point. And at this point, I didn't care what we did. I would just go out there and do it and try to do it to the best of my ability. But I was way done uh, trying to get over and be over because I felt bad. Because look, VKM wasn't going to work from the get go, and I think we tried to make it, you know what I mean? We tried something that did was not successful, but we tried to get lightning in a bottle a second time, and that's just not the way of the world, you know? That's not the way it works, and so VKM was like when Billy came, like it really was bad for both of us. I feel like he had a little bit better of a singles run as a heel, and then he was with the beautiful people. And so he had a little life there, but I had one before he got there. I think when he got there, it kind of screwed us both up a little bit. And we were both screwed up a little bit. You know what I mean? Like you hear, oh, I don't know the question. I just was distracted by the, uh, Anyway, I'm not sure who bit who, but I heard in the Trump thing there was somebody bit somebody. Anyway, yeah, it was look. VKM was not going to be successful, so we just did what we could do with it, and we're going to talk more about this in this episode. But again, dark times for the DO double.
I wouldn't say that you thought this was the next step for VKM, but maybe that goes back to you going, I wasn't really caring at this time.
Yeah, and I did. You don't know what the next step is because look, they weren't going to respond, and they being Hunter and Sean and WWE, they weren't going to respond. So we were in a fruitless battle. You know what I mean? And we knew the payoff. We weren't going to get one, and so it was like, it was failed from the beginning. Like our first big angle was with an unattainable tag team. You know what I mean? And so I don't know. I guess it let us vent some frustrations. It let Russo vent some frustrations, like whatever. VKM, we got it out of our systems. Okay, now what are we going to do? And this is the way we went. You know what I mean? And I look, I'm just a gentleman. Billy's a chauvinist pig, and I'm a gentleman, and I can't say it in any plainer English, English than that.
All right,
and I know Billy doesn't listen to the podcast, so I'm fine saying that.
Did he listen to the episode he was on?
He did. Okay. And he continuously,
we got one extra listener.
Continuously tells me it was the best episode we've ever done. So congratulations, Billy. Thank you.
So same thing. You're not, do you remember late in the 07 or no money problems at this point? You're still the same.
I mean, still the same.
Happiness wise, everything.
Yeah.
All right. When has the conversation started about breaking you and Billy up?
Well, I mean, look, I think it probably already had started, to tell you the truth. And the reason being is they're not talking about us in a story. We're not moving toward a story with anybody. We're out there with her. And so I think the conversations behind our back, and not behind our back, that's how they do it. They go into a room and come up with creative. And so the conversation was probably, look, they're going nowhere. And what are we going to do with them? And look, Kurt Angle could have been saying that about me the whole time, and he would have been right. We were there in my mind to enhance the younger up and coming talent. And that may not have been my mindset at the time. I may have been, less than humble and thinking more of myself than I actually was worth at the time. But I in my mind now, I was only working there to put younger guys over.
Let's put some context to that question. At Turning Point, there's an infamous Feast or Fired Battle Royal with 4 briefcases.
Yep.
One briefcase has an X Division shot, one has a tag title shot, one a TNA title shot, and one with a pink slip. Do you remember this gimmick? What did you think of it going in? Anything?
I thought it was cool, but I didn't know if I was getting fired or not. That's the one thing I remember.
It's cool
for real.
if you don't get the pink slip.
Hey, I ain't getting fired, am I? Y'all could just fire me. Damn, you ain't got to beat me first and then fire me too.
That's like going, hey, don't fire me after Friday. Fire me after Friday morning. Let me have a long weekend.
At least give me the 3 days.
Don't make me wrestle one more time.
Yeah.
All right. You and Kip are in there with Christopher Daniels, Sanjay Dutt, Lance Hoyt, Jimmy Rave, Petey Williams, Shark Boy, Chris Harris, Homicide, Hernandez, and Scott Steiner. Well, that's a roster right there.
That is a roster right there.
I
wish I wasn't in there right now.
You do the fake knee injury gimmick to distract the referees. Kip throws his briefcase to you, and you show you were working it, and now you guys have a briefcase.
Oh.
So the plan should be for you and Kip to get the title shot, right?
Yeah. That should be the plan. Yeah. Well, of course it is.
On December 13th, Impact, you lose the 4-way, which included Scott Steiner, Christopher Daniels, Petey Williams, and Steiner pins Williams. You open your briefcase to reveal a tag title shot, and you began teasing that you weren't sure you were going to pick Kip, and then you cut a promo on Roxy that she's nuts, and that's why your career was going nowhere. At this point, were you ready to break up with Kip?
I still blame it on Roxy. My whole downfall. No. I mean, look, again, I didn't care creatively. I personally, I probably didn't want to be away from Billy just because it's comfortable. So I can see me thinking that way. But I'm sure they were trying to get us apart now to see what they could salvage. And look, I don't feel bad saying that. Like old battleships, they kind of reuse them to sometimes too, you know. I don't know. Call
So
me crazy.
no heat here with you and Kip, of course. No
No,
heat with you and Roxy. This was
no.
just the storyline they pitched, and you
Yep.
ran with it
And I
again,
went with
week to
it,
week.
man. Everything they said do, I say, hey, whatever, I'll do it. Except for the one time they wanted me to cover up Christy Hemme.
Well, look, you when we talked about this topic going in, you said you weren't going to remember much, but I feel like you
Yeah,
had a
I
pretty
did.
good grasp on this.
I remembered a lot more than I thought I would. Again, a lot of it is me looking back retrospectively and trying to figure out what was going on
Right.
because I was in a drug-addled fog during that time. But I think I think I did remember more than I thought I was going to, because I definitely a lot of that rang a bell, and not the SSC kind of ring of a bell, but the
Super
it
severe
it
concussion.
reminded me. It reminded me.
Well, buddy, what a year 2007 it was for Dogg.
2007. You know what? I've never been so happy to see 2008.